A very good afternoon, good morning, welcome. Hey Osho, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Here we are, another day, getting ready. Hope you're doing well your end. Just gonna turn my light off. Yeah, that's good. Good morning, Adev. Good to see you. Just gonna give folks 30 seconds or so to sign on. And we've got Fed's Waller speaking at the moment. He's a very hotly watched Fed speaker, so he's just been saying some pretty supportive comments for a Fed rate cut, which is kind of what's expected. Just as we're waiting folks to come in. Remember, we're expecting 2 interest rate cuts this year, and Fed's Waller's just confirming that. We had no NFP, no CPI data, but despite that, markets are happy to press on, expecting these Fed interest rate cuts still to come. Just have a quick look where the turning point is for the S&P 6802 is the high. 6627, so 68, big round number, first implied volatility level. Just have a quick look for the euro dollar as well. Yeah, so a fair bit to go for the euro. Good morning, Najam, good to see you, hope you're well. Alrighty, so where are we today? So the major driver is we've had good, strong tech earnings out of TSMC. Now, TSMC is the Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing company, and the earnings have beaten for Q3, and the full year guidance has been revised higher. So it's up and away, and you can see that it's breaking up at 312. You've got that kind of flag pattern breakout, looking for a move up, retest, and on we go. So that's not unreasonable to look for a retest at that level. Sentiment is very positive, and that's just lifting sentiment across the board. Just taking a look at equity markets, you can see that US equity futures are all higher. Volatility is pushing lower, still holding above this key sort of 1920 region. So we're stuck in this upper range, but volatility is moving lower. The Fed's cutting interest rates. Their Q3 earnings are coming in, and they're coming in stronger. And markets are looking forward to Fed interest rate cuts, and that's just lifting boats, lifting sentiment. You can see all these dips have been heavily bought. Okay, we've been seeing that and recognizing that, and that's kind of the mood that we've had. Now, doesn't mean to say that things can't go wrong, and the major driver, of course, is Trump and the problems with China. Trump has said they are in a trade war with China, and if the US don't have tariffs, then China don't have national security. So you just got to watch out for this China-US narrative doesn't develop. It's always going to be there, and it's going to be there for the very simple reason that China's number 2 economy, US is number 1 economy. They're competing essentially, and China's on the up, and the US is trying to maintain its global dominance. They're always going to be at loggerheads. China's got designs to annex Taiwan, and if you look at TSMC, they produce 90% of all the semiconductor chips used in the world, right, are produced by this company, and this is in Taiwan. And notice that the earnings the seasonals for the TSM company, you can see that they're very strong at this time of the year, from April to mid-July, average return of 16.13%, and that matches the Taiwan index. Now you can see here, that's the strongest time of the year for the Taiwan index as well. Now this Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, shorthand TSCM, makes up 30% of the main Taiwanese index. So basically, the whole Taiwanese index rises and falls with the TSMC company. That's how big, influential, powerful it is. Provides chips for Nvidia, Apple, Samsung, you name it, this company is providing the chips for it. So the earnings have come out and they're strong, and that's just boosting sentiment around the world. Now, at the same time, we haven't got any major US data. So, in fact, let me look at what the weighting is, if there's a weighting there. Yeah, and Nvidia is the major weighting for the NASDAQ. 13%, Microsoft 11, Apple 11, Amazon 7. It's the big 7, isn't it? And a lot of these AI companies are very interrelated with each other. Nvidia, TSMC, Microsoft, they're building data centers, which means more chips, and this kind of boosting hype relationship. So, nothing lasts forever, we know that, but for today, for this moment in time, sentiment is positive and all boats are being lifted. So that's the mood of the market. The dollar just doesn't have any clear data at the moment. Now, euro dollar breaking out of this support level, pushing higher, Dixie moving lower. We've got a whole series of Fed speak. We've just had Waller speaking. We've got Barr, we've got Mirren. At this time, we've got Bowman at 3. So today it's going to be Fed speak that's going to move it. And that's what I'm expecting to move the markets. And I expect it to send the dollar lower. And then we'll just have to see how things go. But obviously Donald Trump could always make some kind of announcement. So
just making it, we're still getting remarks from Fed Governor Myron. It says regulation is a big driver of the supply side of the economy. Other economists underappreciate that. It says US economy in a pretty good place.
If you look at the ETF, this is the information technology sector of the S&P 500. Look, you get that same kind of summer. So tech seems to have big run up in the middle of the year, expectations of Q3 earnings, expectations probably of new releases, Apple releases, making new announcements of new products, etc. Sentiment up. Then from August to October, sideways, and then final kick into the end of the year. So up in the spring, sideways in the summer.
Myron, he argues again, policy too tight, and that makes the US economy more brittle to shocks like recent change with China and rare earths.
So that's the broad look at. Now, in terms of other earnings, where are we? We've got a few big names coming up. So Bank of Mellon, that's all before the open. Then after the close, rather, we've got these names, and then tomorrow, before the open, American Express, Ali Financial, and then after the close, nothing. So far, so good in terms of earnings. It's all good, and companies are still making money, and they're making more than they expected. So that's why stocks aren't carrying on this big sell-off. I remember that big sell-off was on Friday, was on Trump and China troubles, and the dip has been bought. So let's first just quickly look at some of the trades I've got running. Forge Bank Holdings, just that global holdings, that lovely rejection of that trend line, and got longs in there, and that's pre-market opening up 1898, so that's all good. Deutsche Bank, still just going sideways, I'm still in there, and we've just moved literally sideways on that. On balance one, trying to move up, so if we could get a bullish close, maybe we could get a bit of strength into the weekend. I know, I've also got a euro dollar long, but that was just a very nimble position, so it's not really one that I've put up here because it's just such a nimble, quick position. Okay, on the hourly chart, what can we see? Right, sellers trapped here. Lots of sellers came in here, and we're now moving up to a place where those sellers originally came in. So we're potentially trying to peak up here. Delta is positive from the open, but we got the value area high just up ahead. So we're in a bit of an indecision zone, but standard deviation is holding for now. You can see here on the 15 there's sellers, but they've all been eclipsed by buyers trying to hold there. So, you're looking at this, and this is saying this is a market that wants to move higher. Okay. Just zooming out, what do we see here? We see a market that wants to move high, wants to go and test those levels. We're back into that initial balance area that sold off so sharply yesterday after the session. We just carried on moving down, didn't we? Broke down to that channel. We didn't break out, just collapsed down. You can see that imbalance, that balance area. And literally, we've just moved straight back up to that balance area, trying to hold above the value area high. And the market's trying to go imbalanced, but we're being capped just by this resistance level that we're at now. So a big resistance zone is up ahead, and you've got all the sellers that came in there from yesterday. So if we look on the hourly chart, you can see all those sellers from yesterday came in here, but quite a lot of sellers have been trapped down there. So if we go back down to that VWAP, for me here, that's where I'd be happy to buy in, just down at that VWAP here, around there, the 6,730. And you can see buyers here have come and trapped those sellers. So there's definitely a buy bias from the open, I'd say. 5 minute, so 15 minute, 5 minute, you can see the delta negative getting trapped here by positive delta. So market's trying to move higher off that standard deviation. Got a few seconds left. Now just trying to think where to go in here. Just trying to think of this, because let's just have another look. I want to zoom out. There's definitely some place to go higher, isn't there? Up to that area. Just trying to see what's up here. You've got the single prints up here again. Single prints back up at that level. Trying to stay above that value area high, but we're up into the highs of the day. We're going to wait and see what we get here. I feel confident buying in just underneath this level, the 6731. And I can have the stops, you know, just on the other side of that standard deviation. But at the moment, just buyers, trapped sellers,
it says domestic
and it's wanting to go higher.
A dominant feature of inflation. It says sterling appreciation has a disinflation effect.
So
Batman, it says trade diversion is very small.
So I'm expecting buyers, and I've got to buy buyers. It's just a question of where you get in, you see. Let's have a look. I'm going to wait for the open. And then when I get the open, I'll be quite happy to buy in from that VWAP, because that's where all these sellers got trapped earlier, down there. And that's where we've got those buyers here. So a 6729 entry, 6730 entry is what I'd look for, with stops underneath that kind of 6720 region. Yeah, that would be it for me. Okay, interesting. Right, I'm going to try the buy now, seeing it go back in this direction. And let's see if this is where we get the dip buy off the VWAP. So I'm back into it. See Delta starting to stack up a little bit here. Maybe the buyers have come in a bit. Let's see where we go, see if we can start pushing up higher. Right, back above the point of control, back above the VWAP. Okay, 5-minute close, trying to reject that VWAP, so that's good. Point of control holding. Value area high, rejecting. So keeping my long bias. Got my long in. Get above here, can add another one in.
Fed's Wallace says once supply chains are disrupted, they may not come back to the prior state.
Right, added another one in. Right, just those buyers trapping those sellers there. Let's see. Let's see if on the 5 minutes, you see, you can get those buyers trapping these sellers.
They do open higher. SP 500 up around 0.25%. Nasdaq 100 outperforming up 0.6%, and then Russell 2000 up about 0.2. Main updates concerning US-China relations thus far include China's Commerce Ministry saying it took a constructive stance during recent US-China trade talks. Elsewhere in the US, we heard from Trade Representative Greer, says US to do more on rare earths and more US stakes in rare earth companies possible. On the data front, the fully fed business index that slumped into negative territory, missing expectations by quite a bit. In terms of sectors, we are mainly in the green. Outperformance seen in communication, utilities and tech. Downside seen in financials. Main update in the earnings space was
the 5-minute close coming out
on profit and operating margin, boosting sentiment in the semiconductor space. In terms of the FX space, the dollar index has little changed. We are seeing weakness in the Aussie dollar after a poor September jobs report. In the UK, GDP expectations in August.
Want to see this 5-minute close above,
thus alleviating some concerns over a softer reading. For Europe, the French PM has
got it. So that's good, right?
Non-confidence motion votes.
A bit more confidence for the buyers here.
Oats. And then concerning treasuries in the US,
yeah, here they come.
We have seen them come under pressure, reversing some of that initial upside. In terms of particular headline behind the move, hard to find one. We've had multiple Fed speakers this morning. Myron continues to be a dove, whilst Waller views neutral interest rate about
here we go.
125 basis points lower than the current Fed funds rate, with the labour market sending clear warnings that the Fed should be ready to act. And then lastly, for crude, prices firmer by around 10 cents per barrel, although we have paired pretty much all of the earlier gains. In terms of the early hours, there were reports Indian refiners may take less Russian oil after Trump said Indian PM Modi had committed to stop taking Russian crude, albeit later reports emerged that India had rejected that call had happened. And then for gold, spot gold continuing its march higher, reaching new record highs, currently up around $46 per ounce.
Okay, that's good. Now trying to trap up these ones. Now the question is, do I take profit up at these highs? Nice one there, Jem. Good man. Great stuff, mate. Right, I've taken mine off just up at the highs of the day.
Fiscal policy ensures stability in longer run rates.
That's good. Yeah, okay. Yeah, just pleased to have taken them off there. That just made sense. Good work, folks. Now, Jem, great work, mate. Adair, how you doing? See there, my orders there, just going back in once price moved in the direction, and then just taking it off up the top there.